move on?
We're going to move on.
Okay,
to me.
Mike, take it
I'm
away.
going to introduce myself and do a better job than you did at the beginning.
Yes, you undoubtedly.
So I wanted to go back and address, just sort of summarize what Cindy talked about last week, and sort of in trying to see if it can be modeled to impact local. I mean, essentially what she said was that several things that I found interesting, but through the API leak and the DOJ discoveries, that click-throughs and engagement on site, time on site, were primary metrics that Google used to measure EEAT and measure various aspects of quality about a site, and had become, and according to these documents, a major ranking factor, the click-through and the engagement, and thus made sense of Google continually saying great content and you'll be rewarded, in the sense that it is probably one of the larger ranking signals that SEOs have control over. If you can, improve your organic listing by putting an image on it, improving the title tags, improving the meta description, and improve your on-site engagement by some techniques. And so the question I had came away with after that I didn't think of in real time was whether a similar model, assuming that model is valid, and I think there's certainly something to say for it. I don't know if she claimed it perhaps contributed 30% of ranking, whether a similar model could exist in entity rank, that people engage with, engagement with the business profile through reviews, through scrolling through images, or engaged with the website through the business profile and spent time on the website, whether that would ultimately, either through impacting the rank of the organic site or directly impacting the rank of the entity through engagement, whether that was a worthy of exploration and consideration. Certainly, we've seen in all of our research the incredible value of photos, even in something as bizarre as self-storage, where people would look at photos around the self-storage to make sure it wasn't in a bad neighborhood, right? But particularly in visual things like home decor or restaurants, photos played a huge role in the aesthetics, and engagement in those photos was pretty obvious. Same with reviews. Now, we don't see as much engagement with the reviews. Maybe we saw maybe 20% or so people actually scrolling through the reviews. But I wonder whether those are strong enough signals for Google to impact ranking.
Just a quick addition. So I think Joy Hawkins was the one who talked about menus and restaurant rankings, I believe.
I think it was Claudia Tamina.
Oh, okay. All right. But regardless, so menus in the restaurant context would be consistent with that theory, right? People want to see menus.
As with products, which we've talked about. They're very similar.
And price information, right? That's another factor. I think that was a Joy example with, I want to say plumbers. I could be mistaken that when you added price information, I guess, I don't know where that was being added on the GBP.
It was on the website, but
on the website that increased engagement and increased rankings. I mean, the way that it's historically discussed is these elements increase ranking, but Cindy's theory is that there's an interim step, which is the click or the engagement or whatever time on site, and that's the thing that Google is really looking at to drive ranking. So it's not the price is something Google will use to elevate the ranking. It's that price attracts the user, or the image attracts the user, or the menu attracts the user, and they respond with a click or with engagement, and Google reads that and says, this is a more relevant or higher quality result.
Yeah, which to me speaks to the need to do exactly the kind of research that we're doing. Like every industry really should be doing this, because if you're only looking at your own GA data, you're not seeing what's happening on all of your competitors' websites. And if they have a particular content module or content silo that people really love, you're sort of missing out on potentially deeper engagement, which might fuel better rankings in the future.
So do you think, David, I know we talked about this a little bit in the green room, but do you think that this could influence entity rank? I think you mentioned that you thought the volume was too low in local for it to have an impact.
Yeah, I mean, I just think it would. I don't dispute that it might influence it, but I feel like there's only a few categories, I think, where the search volume is substantial enough and the number of engagements is substantial enough where you get a statistically significant sort of difference between, say, the second pack listing and the fifth pack listing. Like, you'd really have to rotate those in and out quite a bit and have a huge number of potential engagements, I think, to draw a meaningful conclusion. Now, you might say, like, well, Google, but there's some, especially as we've seen in basically all of our research, there's been sort of a flattening out where the top 15 results all seem to have pretty strong review profiles and good photos and a good categorization and everything else. And so, maybe
and
this
where,
is kind
where
of
we don't have consistency, people will search through to find it, right? In other words, in physicians where 3 out of 4 didn't have good reviews, they would go 20 deep to find them.
Well, people are looking for specific elements by category, by vertical, that they want to see before making a decision.
Yeah. So yes, I do think it's definitely something that could influence entity rank. I don't know that I'd peg it at 30%, as apparently Cindy has, but
I think that was a casual
the logic
remark.
of it makes sense. Yeah. So, yeah.
Right. Well, that's all I have to say.
There you go. All right. That brings us to the end of another exciting Near Memo. Come back next week. We'll have our next special guest. I think it's going to be Morty Oberstein. I don't know exactly the date yet, but that'll be an interesting discussion. I think we'll be talking about brand and the value of brand in search results, among other things there. So be on the lookout for that. And thanks again, as always, for listening. Tell your friends and join us next time.